morning, Headmaster. Good morning, Reverend Robson, distinguished guests, teachers, and fellow DBS classmates. I actually graduated, I think I'm from the class of 1982. I spent 4 months or 5 6 years in DBS. And then I was part of the athletics team and basketball team, and at that time we were Division 3, so it was struggling at that time. I then graduated. I went to university. I get my degrees in a major called electrical and computer engineering. I worked in the industry for many years, taking various roles, starting companies, research lab, multinational corporations, and most recently, I joined a very famous company called Lehman Brothers. I was taken over by Nomura, and I now become a Nomura employee, and it's one of the chief admin officer in one of their corporate divisions. I'm very honored to be here, seeing and having this opportunity to address all of you. I'm married. I have 2 kids, boys, just as active as you are. And this morning I want to just speak a little bit about success, all-round excellence. I've learned that there are many definitions that's possible, and who is writing the definitions. At work, for me, it means handling budget, hiring. It means delivering project results, and all the while finding time to socialize, network, and hopefully be at home by 7. Now, as the father of 2 definition change, all-round excellence means definitely by 7 o'clock. Be a teacher, be a storyteller, and be an entertainer to my 2 boys. Be romantic to my wife, that's very important. Be a listener, and be an all-purpose caretaker. Now, I said just now I was from the class of 1983. So thinking back 25 years ago, most of you, or all of you, not even 20, but thinking back 25 years ago, that's deep into the last century, there was a time, all-round excellence means the following to us, the DBS boys then. First of all, no particular order of sequence. The first element is probably to look who to the members of the opposite sex. We call the M-O-O-S, the moose. The second aspect perhaps is to be a winner in a competitive endeavor, and in DBS that means sports, or music, or both. Thirdly, be self-motivated, or what people sometimes call a self-motivated achiever. Now, that often expresses itself in extracurricular activities, and for us in our times it was getting a high score in playing Spades and Pages. That was the first video game, by the way, that made massive sense, and now you're putting any kind of video games, all varieties, in your palm, and you can play it in all locations. At that time, that game was about the size of a coffee table in the living room, and we thought getting a high score playing Space Invader was good. There was another game around that time called Pac-Man. Of course, we weren't too interested in Pac-Man because we would have somehow had that impression that Pac-Man are games for girls, and of course we're not interested in Pac-Man, of course. Now, the other thing that would be a cool achievement for those of us at that time, obviously, is to know everything about Gundam. And I don't know what the current series is, but in our age, that was the original Mobile Suit Gundam. I think it was RX-78, for those of you who are into this sort of things. And of course, the fourth element is to do academically. Now, this is 2009. And I was thinking, what does all-round excellence mean in 2009? So what I did is, like many of you do at home, I Googled with the term all-round excellence and want to see what I get from the internet. I get 3 million results, and one of them I thought was interesting. So I'll share this one. The article appears in a newspaper called the Chicago Tribune, and it's about a girl. Her name is Rachel Wong, and the title of the article is Rachel Wong, All-Round Excellence. Rachel is an 18-year-old high school senior, that is, I think, Form 6 in our times. She's one of the students that get a scholarship from the Chicago Tribune Foundation, and according to the news media, these are good achievements. Rachel had won piano competition and has played violin with the Sangamon Valley Youth Symphony and with professional musicians in the orchestra at the Springview Mooney Opera. As a junior, Form 5 that is, after learning that the student newspaper had stopped publishing a few years earlier, she recruited friends and teachers to re-establish the newspaper. Rachel received all A's in her high school classes, including advanced placement in math, science, literature, and history. She also got a near perfect score of 2,350 on her SAT. Obviously, 2400 is the full score. She also took sectional first place in the worldwide youth science and engineering competition in math and biology. This news item might as well be from 1983. Apparently, the meaning of all-round excellence stay roughly the same, whether it is from the time of Indiana Jones, Raiders of the Lost Ark, or Laura Croft, the Tomb Raider. And come to think of it, Laura Croft embodied all-round excellence. She is competitive, incredibly sporty, and knows century-old martial art as well as advanced weaponry. She is a self-starter, achiever, and come to think of it, if you are a two-man, then you've got to be a self-starter, because no one else is going to invite you into their team. And to be so knowledgeable as she is portrayed, she must have studied and have a studious and, shall I say, intellectual or more focused side to her. And fourthly, I think she's good looking and athletic. Well, you can choose Rachel Wang or Laura Croft to be a role model. There are only two downsides. First of all is the obvious moral ethics of being a Tomb Raider. And the second one is this, for some reason, after 1990, the debut of Bart Simpson, the underachiever, and an underachiever who is proud to be an underachiever, as well as Bart's highly intelligent sisters like Lisa, we seem to get more example of high-profile, all-round achiever from girls. And of course, I'm speaking at the boys' group. I'll leave these two topics for another time. How do you develop all-round excellence on a more personal level? I would suggest, first of all, don't be a Tomb Raider, or Raider of anything for that matter. Otherwise, take a real-life step at being what is embodied in Laura Croft, if you prefer. Indiana Jones to be a writing engine. In my opinion, there are three core elements to all-round excellence. First of all, is being competitive, and secondly, is being what is sometimes called self-actuated or simply self-starting. And third core element is being knowledgeable. Being super smart would help, although it's slightly not one of the core elements, and good looking might be a fourth one. Now, these three core elements, competitive, self-actuated, and knowledgeable, can be trained and developed through participating in a competitive endeavor, and in DBS, sports community is the usual suspect. Actively pursuing a project within a special interest group, for example, a school club, and thirdly, learn or spend time to study what I'm thinking about. Now, before I deep dive into these three core elements of all-round excellence, let me take a short detour to view that potential fourth core element of good looking. Right? The truth is that I can't really help you with that. But looking at all of you, boys, in that effort, I can't believe good looking is not a criteria for everything you into DBS. Now, generally though, I know that without plastic surgery, if a guy managed to comb his hair, be neat and tidy, be just a little bit aware of his fashion, but don't overemphasize, and manage to smile at people all the time, you will generally look handsome. Now, this is not my viewpoint, this is a viewpoint from a DGS friend of mine here in my university days. So believe it or don't believe it, that's all I'm saying about the subject today. Now, to be really charming to the mooners, members of the opposite sex, then that would be a topic for another time. Now, let me get back to these three core elements of all-round excellence. First of all, the first core element, participating in a competitive endeavor. At DBS, there's a wide range of competitive endeavor you can be part of, and be it sports, music, and other activities that we are top ranking. Yes? I encourage you to adopt one. Why competitive endeavor? I used to be an athlete in DBS, a sprinter specifically, and not a sumo wrestler. So I'll use sports as an example. I know it's a bit hard to look at me today, to think of me as an athlete. One time, not too long ago, a little 3-year-old girl, she knows my size and shape, and she asked me, are you pregnant? I want to strangle her, but I said, well, no, it wasn't like that. And I was just getting ready for a job interview, and I'm interviewing for Santa Claus. And this is the required size and shape. So be nice to me. Anyways, I ran 100 meters race, 200 meters, and 4x10, 4x100, 4x10, 4x100 relay back in those days when I was a big girl. In fact, our team, and I love to use that term for our DBS team, our athletics team, our team, in 1982, broke the B grade record, 4x1 record by about 0.6 of a second. The time of 45.17 seconds, we wrote history for many years. I think the record was broken again maybe in 2001. I can't really be sure. So that probably lasted about 20 years. And though unfortunately in 2005 that was broken again by who. Why competitive endeavor? Let me get back to that topic. I think it trains you to be enduring and help you to develop a discipline. And it also pushes you to transcend, that is to go past your limit. And in your age, between 12 and 18 years old, your physiology development is such that you will go past one limit after another every year or so. And so, on top of perseverance and discipline, it is also an excellent way to build confidence, as well as a self-reinforcing cycle of commitment, committed effort, and achieved results. And obviously, you can only do this if you are an achiever in a champion school like DBS. That certainly worked for our viewer team back in the 80s. We had about 2 years prior just broken the secret record, and that motivated us to train. And as a matter of fact, on top of the school training schedule, we also went to Marshall on our own initiative and trained there many more nights, just because we want to know our tracks and we want to know each other in the team. Perseverance, discipline, confidence, and that self-reinforcing cycle of committed effort, achieve results, will help you to be an achiever in your future. In my case, after DBS, as I said, I went into an engineering school, and for some personal reasons, I need to complete a 4-year program within 3 years. And I spent many semesters, because of my constraint of having to finish that program faster. I spent many semesters having 20 hours sleep each Monday to Friday. I still don't know how I did it, but I can assure you of one thing. If it had not been the training that I went through with my DBS classmates, I wouldn't have been able to do anything. So I really do encourage you to pick up that competitive endeavor, whether it is sports, whether it is music or other areas. And I further encourage you to find a team competition, to participate in a team competition. The reason team competition is the reason I mentioned team competition is because team competition trains your ability to work together and to know who in your team does best in what aspect, so that together you will achieve more. When we were optimizing for the 4x100 relay, the first link is actually the fastest runner because we need him to cover the most distance. I usually run the second leg because the third leg needs to sprint on the curve, and as bulky as I am, I just sprint the curve. So third leg is a slimmer sprinter that can run the curve, and I've never seen anyone sprint faster on the curve than he does until I meet him here, of course. The last person in the relay team, he has a very interesting performance aspect. That is, he does best when he's under pressure. So we put him last because by the time the baton is handed over to him, he's usually about 20 or 30 meters ahead of the next team, obviously, when you were record breaking 20 years ago. And he's been very fast, and even faster when he knows there are about 7 other runners trying to overtake him. So that's how we put our team together. We know each other, but we work in a team. We know who does best in what, and we position ourselves accordingly. The top runner doesn't always get to run in the last leg, which people think is the most glorious. And I think teamwork is also critical if you want to succeed. What I'm most proud of in our teamwork at that time is that none of us were record-breaking athletes, but together our efforts stand for about 20 years. The second core element in all our excellence is what I call self-actuated, or simply self-starting. For some people, being a self-starter is a character that you're born with. For others, like myself, we need to be trained in order to be a self-starter. And the way of doing it, I would suggest, is to actively pursue a project or a goal within a special interest group. And any of the school clubs and DBS will be a good venue for that. I know I said earlier about not being a raider of tunes, but the spirit of tune raiding will help me illustrate here. A project gives you an opportunity to hone your skills in research, for instance, where to do. It also gives you an opportunity to ask analytical questions, and these questions generally start with how and why. For example, how do I get to the tune? How do I get out? What guns, toolkits do I need? How heavy is the treasure? How do I get the treasure out? And who will be tracing me? And how will I avoid them? Why this tune? Why not this? What makes me think there's really treasure in this tune versus the other? Why do they make the tracks this way and not the other way? How do I avoid them? So it gives you opportunity to ask questions, how and why. And thirdly, it also exercises your creativity to overcome obstacles. For example, if you are a tuner, you're not usually have any interest in obstacles, but if your forte is not to interact with obstacles, think of a way to avoid it. And so it's exercise to avoid obstacles. This is where you are not bound by an existing curriculum. And in fact, this is where you invent and plan and structure your own curriculum and program. Hence, training should be self-actuated or self-starting. In my opinion, there are a wide range of projects. For example, in this day and age, you can think of, I think there are facilities to do that, but you can think of programming a visual sensor equipped car and follow a randomly drawn line on the ground and see who in this group can program the car that went fastest. We used to do it in our university days, and it was part of a project in our class. And just about 2 years ago, I know that my nephew is doing that with the Lego car that we brought in. So I'm sure it can be another project. Well, another project can be, for example, just to get examples here, maybe a critique on the cultural changes between the time of Indiana Jones and Hollywood, and how Hollywood adjusted content to reduce the target audience 25 years ago. For your information, our box office is about $300 million, and it's about the same as the last episode of Indiana Jones. The third element, the third core element in online excellence is obviously to take a big step at academic work, and I'm now referring to book knowledge. I actually don't think I need to say that much more about this. Among us, there are natural achievers, academic achievers that is, but some, like myself, will find it more challenging. So in light of the challenge and the pain that academic achievement brings to some of us, I put together some examples from the investment universe to illustrate the point. When thinking of investment, one often asks about the return of an investment. It's usually expressed in percentage terms, in particular percentage return per annum. So if a particular investment produces a 10% per annum return, then over 5 years, the return is then 1 plus 1, which is 1.1, multiply that to, or take it to the power of 5, and that is 1.1 multiplied by itself 5 times. Well, this would give 1.61, or rather 61% return over 5 years. Now, there are 3 levels of investment that I would like to draw your attention to. The first one is the US S&P index, which for the past 43 years has given an average return of 10.34%. And there's an investment return of the world best investor, Mr. Warren Buffett. And over that same period of time, 43 years, he has averaged a return of 21.2% per annum. Now, to put it in real dollar terms, for every dollar that you invest in S&P, you will get $70 back in 43 years. For every dollar that you invest with Mr. Buffett in 43 years, for every dollar that you invest with him, you will get $4,000 in the same period. Now, let's say you are a 27-year-old and you have Hong Kong dollar 1 million to invest. If you can produce and return like the S&P 500, then in 43 years, that's when you're 70-year-old, your money will grow to 19 million. This is perhaps not the Olympics grade of investment, but it's certainly very respectable. However, if you can produce a return like Mr. Buffett, in 43 years, your money, the same $1 million, will grow to about Hong Kong $1 billion. And by the way, at this level of return, if you can live another 10 years, you will qualify as one of Hong Kong 40 richest, which according to Forbes magazine, started about $8 billion Hong Kong dollars. Now, there is a third category of investing. A few years ago, I went to a professional website to check on the return of institutional funds. And in this world, apart from the so-called hedge fund, there are about 10,000 of these institutional funds. I wanted to know at that time how many of these funds can actually return 15% over 10 years. Guess how many I found out of 10,000? I found about 10 or 20 that can return 50% per annum for over 10 years. I then searched the same website for return of 50% over 20 years. It doesn't exist. It's no fund that can do that. Now, let's assume that that fund exists. And let's assume that you are one of those talents that can produce 50% return. And let's see what you will get in 43 years' time. If you are that sort of talent and can produce that sort of return, the original $1 million will then grow to about $118 million. So, let me recap. There are 3 types of talent. In particular, if you can think of this talent as 3 talents, maybe you can think of there's the genius, and there's the very smart people, and then there is the average people. Okay, now, and they produce, in terms of return, the 1.1 billion, about 100 million, 190 million to be exact, and the 90 million. So 3 different talents produce 3 different investment results in 43 years now. Let's do an experiment here. Well, let's say one of the very smart guy, instead of investing or exercising his talent right away at 27 years old, let's say he procrastinates for 12 years, which is the same time you spend in DBS and DBS TV. Let's say he procrastinates and don't start investing or exercising his talent for 12 years. Well, so in the remaining years of his life, that's 31 years at 50% return, his investment result would be about 21 million. It's just barely better than the average guy. So what I'm saying is that these three types of talents correspond to, obviously, in your age, the super smart, also the genius, the very smart, and the average. And if you happen to start 12 years later, your overall result will only match the average of a person. Now, while I was living overseas, was actually taking care of a youth group in our church. I actually see a lot of smart people, very smart. But for whatever reasons in this world, they decide to exercise their talent 12, 15 years later. And what I wanted to share with you this morning is that just like investment return, when you start late, your results suffer. And one way or another, you need to make up for it. And so if you think you are average person, and your investment return is only your talent is only like the 10% range, and you say, well, what can I do? Well, what I just illustrated is that, for many of you who think you are average, if you just do what you do just put in the daily effort and do it consistently for a long time, your result actually, a lot of time, will supersede the ones who think they are very smart. And for some reason in this world, there are a lot of smart people who think, for one reason or another, that they don't need to start too much later in life. And for some reason, this all applies to academics. When we deal with academic achievement, if the academic subjects felt hard and unattainable, many in the very smart category automatically downgrade themselves to the below average, to the average category, and they give up a lot of fight. Whereas, chances is that if you put in a persistent performance and just trying day after day, even an average performer will be very respectable in the long term. So persistence, courage, self-motivation, and self-starting, these are the characteristics that will get you to outperform. And even Albert Einstein wasn't a standout. As a child, Albert Einstein had speech problems, and as a graduate from university, he can't find a teaching job for 2 years. Think of Michael Jordan, the basketball players that I admire in my age. He was actually disqualified from the school basketball team when he was Form 4. And the reason is that at 5'11", he was not quite enough for the basketball team. So imagine what their world would be like if they have internet. So with respect to this third core element of all-round excellence, I hope you will give us that to the academic works, even if you perceive academics as your weakness. A parent whose son is a DBS boy, who is probably well known among your generation, once told me this: if you want your kids to be well trained academically, there are many schools to choose from. However, if you want your kids to have a certain spirit that enable all-roundness, then DBS is one of the very few schools that can nurture that. The DBS kids, according to her, have enough chicken nuts or chicken bits or chicken bites in their brain to burn down the school. For obvious reasons, please don't burn down the school. And remember, no tone breaking either. But do take advantage of what DBS and our tradition and culture of excellence can offer you. I believe God created you and will have a wonderful plan for your life. And at this stage of your life, prepare to excel will be a big part of that plan and purpose. This is my view of all-round excellence. I have not had time to make the link as to why all-round excellence would necessarily produce success. In fact, it may not. And I think there will be a few wisdom you need to adopt in life and eventually master to increase your chance of translating all-round excellence to success. But this will be a topic for another time. I'm aware that with about 1,000 plus people in this audience, every minute that I speak means that I consume a mandate in this universe. And I think I've already consumed 3 or 4 weeks already. Thank you for your time.